This is William Robinson of VitalHair.com. We're here at NerdCon in Mount Bellevue, Texas, with Ms. Kelly Lynn Colby. And if you would, ma'am, please introduce yourself further.
Hello, I am Kelly Lynn Colby. I am an author, mostly of YA fantasy, and I am also a developmental editor and an acquisitions editor for Inklings Publishing.
Now, before we get into the kind of stuff you're at, what does an acquisitions editor do?
I get all the emails from people who want their books published.
Okay.
So I get to go through those and I read a sample and decide whether I think maybe we'd be interested in the full book.
Right.
And then I ask them for the full, and then I go through it and decide whether it's something that would work for us or not.
Right. And young adult fantasy, you said that's mainly your primary genre then? Mm-hmm. Now, prepping for this interview, I read that you also had a degree in biology.
I do.
Does that affect you at all in your world building of your stories at all? To think how something would work physiologically?
A little bit. So even though I write about magic, my magic has to be logical.
Right.
It's like I can't get rid of that science background. So if I make a rule, then that is the rule that has to stay through the entire book. So, and through the entire series and through the entire world. And I have to have rules. Magic just can't be there. It has to come from somewhere. There has to be limitations to it. It has to be something that makes sense, because obviously it's not scientific at all.
Right. So, how many books have you written so far?
I've written 5 books.
Right.
But I have one published right now.
Okay.
And that's with Inklings, and that's this one, Tarbin's True Air.
Okay.
And the second one is almost done, and it will be published in the spring.
Okay.
And that's Tarbin's False Prophet.
Right.
And I have 2 other books. One is a YA urban fantasy.
Right.
And the fourth one, and I have 2 in that series, is about a girl and her dragon, and those are middle grade.
Right.
Those are not published yet. Now,
does it ever seem kind of crazy doing young adult stuff? Because right now, if you look at the market for young adults, you got everything from, they also like Hunger Games and Twilight, which show dystopian futures, which is common, or supernatural creatures, to where I've even seen, say for example, in the some religious bookstores, young adult series based on the Book of Enoch, where you got the Nephilim, the fallen angels, those guys running around. Mm-hmm. So is it kind of hard to stay or have your own voice to be heard in such a crazy market right now?
No, not as long as you know what it is that you've written.
Okay.
So all of those books have subgenres. So you have YA paranormal, you have YA romance, you have YA paranormal romance. So, and mine is very traditional YA fantasy. So it is an epic fantasy. So it is in an alternate world, not ours.
Right.
And it is, it has its own rules, and there are dwarves and elves and dragons and the very typical things that you would find in a fantasy. YA it is changing, things constantly change in this industry.
Of course.
But it was really just a moniker to let you know that there was not anything explicit in it.
Right.
Either violence or relationship-wise, that there was not anything very explicit in it, that it would be safe for a YA reader.
Right. So taking more of the, say, the Tolkien route than the Darkstalker route than the fantasy you're writing.
Correct, exactly. This is not George R. R. Martin. It's a lot safer than that. I have, actually, my biggest readers are high schools,
Right.
high school children, mostly girls. And those are the ones that really, really enjoy this. And I have no guilt in offering it with their parents. You know, like, nope, this is fine, I promise.
I've had a chance to talk to different artists and writers over the years, and one thing I've heard sometimes say is there's sometimes they'll work with editing or a different idea, and they'll think, darn, why didn't I think of first? When you do your acquisitions, does that ever strike you at all? Like, oh wow, they got that so right, or...
As an editor?
Yeah.
I will say as an editor, I've never seen an idea that isn't workable.
Right.
Not once. But it really has to do with how hard the writer is actually willing to work to make that book be what it could be.
Right.
So it's real. I mean, writing is hard work. It really is. I mean, it's not coal mining. I'm not out there sweating, but the decisions you have to make every moment that you are writing and editing and doing it, it wears you out. So I love it. That's why I do it. But some people aren't willing to put that in.
Right.
So that's really what it has to do with the writing. All these ideas are wonderful. I've never seen any, oh, I wish I thought of that.
Right.
But I have seen some where I'm like, oh, that's an interesting idea. So it depends on what you're looking for.
And working with the Inklings Publishing Group, does it strictly fantasy and sci-fi background? Do you guys have a catalog of different types of stories you
We have a
publish?
catalog. We love all books. So we've been in 5 years. It's our 5-year anniversary. Yay! We
Wow,
have cake.
congrats.
So it's our 5-year anniversary, and we will publish any good book we like. We are readers, and we love to read. And we do have, because we do a lot of conventions and we meet a lot of writers through here, we are pretty heavy on fantasy right now. We're actually looking for some good sci-fi.
Okay.
So if anyone has it, Inklings Publishing, we're really looking for some good sci-fi. But we also have some horror, very successful award-winning horror, actually. Meg Hofdahl is the author, and she's incredible. And then we have some dystopian, we have some anthologies. So if you just want a little taste, so if you just want to, sometimes, you have this big tome of a book, and sometimes you want to just read a whole story. So it's really nice to have an anthology where you can just read that quick, short story. And it also will tell you, do it one sitting. It'll also tell you whether you really like that author. And if you read that short story, you're like, I kind of like this person. Then you can look up and see what else they've written. So,
Great. And how many conventions do y'all normally do a year?
a bunch. Almost one a month.
Right.
Sometimes it's multiple, and that's why it's nice having enough staff that we can split up and do multiple. But we're very big on the convention route.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time, Miss Colby. Much luck to your books, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you.